The offer arrived like a quiet storm, wrapped in a simple envelope that threatened to destroy everything one man had spent his entire life protecting. For 40 years, an old mechanic named Marlon Vey had guarded a forgotten garage on the edge of town, believing it was just a place full of memories, broken engines, and dreams that the world had moved on from. But when a powerful CEO walked in offering him a tiny fraction of what the land was truly worth, neither man knew that beneath the dusty concrete floor waited a secret that would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of never giving up, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel, Beyond Single Dad, for more heart-touching stories. Marlon had never cared about becoming rich. His small garage was not a business empire or a luxury showroom. It was a place where he repaired old cars for struggling families, helped young mechanics learn their first skills, and kept alive the memory of his father, a legendary racer who disappeared from the spotlight decades earlier. The world saw Marlon as an aging mechanic with a failing business. His walls were covered with old photographs, racing posters, and faded memories. His hands carried the marks of thousands of repairs, and his clothes always smelled of oil and metal. But inside that humble garage lived a man who understood something money could never buy: loyalty. Then came Adrian Cross, the young and successful CEO of a massive real estate company. Adrian arrived in a convoy of expensive cars, surrounded by assistants and investors who saw Marlon's property as nothing more than an obstacle. The land sat in the perfect location for a luxury development project, and Adrian believed everything had a price. He offered Marlon an amount that sounded impressive to ordinary people but was almost insulting compared to the true value of the property. The company wanted the garage gone quickly, and they assumed an old mechanic would be easy to convince. But Marlon refused. Not because he hated money. Not because he didn't understand his struggles. He refused because the garage was the last piece of his father's legacy. It was where he learned that a machine was not just metal and wires. Every car carried a story, every engine carried a heartbeat, and every person who walked through his doors deserved respect. Adrian left frustrated, believing Marlon was making a mistake. But something about the old mechanic stayed in his mind. The confidence in his refusal was different. It wasn't the stubbornness of a poor man protecting a broken building. It felt like someone guarding something precious. Days later, Adrian returned with a team of experts to inspect the land. While checking the old garage, one worker noticed unusual markings beneath the floor. Hidden under years of dust and forgotten memories was a sealed underground storage area. When the door was finally opened, everyone stood frozen. Inside was not trash. It was history. Covered in protective sheets were rare racing cars, original designs, trophies, and documents from a forgotten era of motorsport. The collection belonged to Marlon's father, a racing legend whose name had disappeared after a mysterious accident ended his career. The garage was not sitting on ordinary land. It was hiding one of the greatest private racing collections ever discovered. Suddenly, the CEO who came to buy a piece of property realized he had been standing on a piece of history. But the biggest surprise was not the value of the cars. It was the story behind them. Marlon's father had built those cars with passion, believing that racing was about courage, teamwork, and dreams. After his accident, he hid the collection because he feared the world would only see the money and forget the meaning behind it. Marlon had spent his whole life protecting that dream. Adrian's attitude began to change. The man who once saw the garage as a problem started seeing it as a responsibility. He realized that wealth had given him power, but Marlon's kindness had given him something far more valuable: purpose. Instead of forcing Marlon to sell, Adrian offered to help restore the collection and transform the garage into a racing museum and training center for young mechanics who had nowhere else to learn. The old garage that everyone ignored became a place where new dreams were born. Years later, children walked through those doors and learned about engineering, racing, and determination. Families visited to see the legendary cars. And Marlon, standing beside the machines his father built, finally saw his life's work recognized. The CEO came looking for land, but he found a legacy. The mechanic thought he was protecting an old garage, but he was actually protecting a piece of history that would inspire generations. Sometimes the things the world sees as worthless are the very things carrying the greatest stories. Sometimes a second chance does not come from having more money, but from finally understanding the value of what was already there. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness, respect, and memories matter more than wealth, please support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your engagement helps bring more inspiring stories to people who need them. Before the story ends, please comment, "Legacy lives forever," if you believe every person and every forgotten dream deserves a second chance. Marlon's garage was never just a building. It was a reminder that true treasures are not always found in gold or expensive possessions. Sometimes they are hidden in the places everyone else has already forgotten. And sometimes, the greatest discoveries are not about what we find, but about what we finally learn to value.